Welcome to Those Were the Days. The topic of today's program, the McMurray Century Club, was suggested by Tom McMurray. I talked about the McMurray Century Club as part of the presentation and recording I did about historic Peters Township women's clubs back in May, but Tom requested the topic, and because I don't think many of you saw the presentation, I decided to adapt the Century Club content into a presentation for Those Were the Days. The McMurray Century Club actually began as the Peters Township Junior Women's Club and was established in 1951. It assumed its new name, the McMurray Century Club, in April of 1956. Here we have a photograph of the executive officers of the club for 1957. Standing from left to right are Grace Potter, recording secretary, Marie Matthews, treasurer, and Anne Schellinger, corresponding secretary. Sitting from left to right are Nani McGibbon, first vice president, Norma Hartman, president, and Polly McMurray, second vice president. According to a newspaper article in the Observer Reporter, the club disbanded in 1991, so it had a long 40-year run in which it did a lot for the Peters Township community. As of today, the only records the archives have that were created by the McMurray Century Club is a single scrapbook from the 1957 to 1958 year. And I have to say that it is one of the most beautifully decorated scrapbooks I've ever seen. Each new month in the scrapbook begins with a striking hand-painted title page, including those seen here. It's not surprising that the scrapbook earned the Century Club a blue ribbon for first prize in logbook 1957-1958 from the Washington County Federation of Women's Clubs. Note the hand-drawn detail above the ribbon. Here's my favorite page from the scrapbook with its hand-painted peacock and the headline, "We're proud as a peacock." And what was all this pride in reference to? The reason that the Century Club was so proud was because its member and past president, Jane Shaner, earned the title of Mrs. Cannonsburg and was a finalist for Mrs. Pennsylvania in 1958. Jane was a former home economics teacher turned stay-at-home mother of two who lived on Valley Brook Road with her husband, Douglas, an art teacher at Mount Lebanon High School. Sadly, Jane did not win Mrs. Pennsylvania. She was runner-up to Mrs. Virginia Carlson, who was Mrs. Wilkinsburg. The club published monthly newsletters in the 1950s, which it called the Peters Piper. Here's a copy of the front page of the November 1958 volume of the newsletter. It includes information about the club's upcoming December bazaar, meetings, committee reports, information on past and future events, state federation news, board news, and proposed amendments to the club's bylaws. According to the contents of the 1957 to 58 scrapbook, the club had an extremely busy 2 years. In 1957, it hosted a Roaring Twenties party at Buffalo Inn in South Park. That's what the photos you see here are promoting. In the photo at top left, we have Nani McGibbon with the bullhorn, Irma Baker, and Libby Hanna. In the bottom right photo, we have Libby Hanna crouching, then Mrs. Reed, Polly McMurray, Lois Minetti, and Joy Will. The club members also participated in a door-to-door donation drive entitled March Against Polio. And in February of 1958, the club organized a sweetheart dance at Mount Lebanon Country Club, later Rolling Hills Country Club. It also organized fashion shows. In May of 1957, the club hosted a benefit fashion show at Gammon's Restaurant on Route 19 North. The clothes were provided by Borchert's of Cannonsburg, and 14 club members served as the models. Not being familiar with Gammon's or Borchert's, I searched them online on newspapers.com. An article from the 1957 Pittsburgh Sun-Telegraph said that Gammon's was located at 1801 Washington Road in Mount Lebanon. According to Google Earth, the Bank of America Financial Center, near the intersection of Route 19 and Fort Couch Road, now occupies that site, which is actually now in Upper St. Clair. And here's a photograph of that bank. You can just see South Hills Village here in the background, and Fort Couch Road would be here. It appears that Borchert's was something of an institution in Cannonsburg. In 1966, the store celebrated its golden anniversary. Apparently, the store moved up and down the main street of Canonsburg several times between its opening in 1916 and its 50th anniversary in 1966. But since 1943, Borchert's Dress Shop had been located at 62 West Pike Street, at the corner of Pike and Jefferson in Canonsburg. The Nook on Pike, a store described as carrying vintage, repurposed, eclectic, and curated products, now occupies the space once occupied by Borchert's. Borchert's was established and managed by Miss Clara Borchert, which the Daily Notes newspaper described as, quote, an elegant woman, strictly feminine, who knows how women like to dress and how they like to be treated. The store celebrated its 50th anniversary with tea, cookies, and informal modeling by local women. It also designed a special window depicting fashions from 1916 to the present, or 1966. And here's a picture of the Nook on Pike as it appears on Google Earth. So where the Nook is now is where Borchert's was once located. The Century Club also raised money for scholarships for local students. In 1957, Peters Township High School senior Dorothy Feefold was the recipient of a $200 scholarship from the club. And the club hosted bazaars such as the December 1957 Christmas Bazaar you see advertised and shown here. And I'm sorry, but this is about the saddest looking Century Club Santa that I have ever seen. I'm wondering if it was the son of maybe one of the members. They don't look too interested in what they're doing. The Century Club's largest fundraiser was its annual Century Capers show that ran from 1966 until 1977. The Capers was a musical revue performed over multiple nights each spring at Peters Township High School. Each year, the Century Club hired the Broadway firm Jerome Cargill Incorporated, which provided a director and costumes for the show. The cast was comprised entirely of members of the community who volunteered to perform. A kickoff party for each year's show was held at Lou Carey's restaurant. The director would be in town for 3 weeks to stage and rehearse the production. On the left is a photograph from the March 19, 1968 edition of the Pittsburgh Press promoting Century Capers 68, in which more than 200 McMurray area residents participated. On the right is a Post-Gazette photograph from the Wednesday, April 15th edition, and it has performers from Century Capers 70, which was a calendar review. On the left is Mrs. Black, representing New Year's. On the right is Mrs. Myers, representing St. Patrick's Day. The show raised funds for a proposed youth recreation center and for scholarships for area students, like the one that was given to Dorothy. This advertisement, aimed at any township resident having secret thespian yearnings, encouraged residents to try out for a role in the musical comedy entitled Weatherman's Picnic. Tryouts were held at the McMurray home of Betty Lou Kieran, the show's musical director. The 1966 show was held at the Peters Township High School from March 24th till March 26th. During the 1960s, the club also sponsored an annual series of children's plays by the Nickerty-Knockerty Players. What didn't the women of the Century Club do? In addition to themed parties, fashion shows, bazaars, Century Capers, and children's plays, the Century Club also hosted a youth summer camp in the summer of 1957. The camp was open to children between the ages of 5 and 12 who were students at McMurray or Venetia School. It ran from July 8th through August 2nd and was held at the McMurray Grade School. The fee was a whopping $1 per child per week. Here we have a copy of the registration form and a photograph that was taken at the camp. Also in the late 1950s, the club's youth committee, in cooperation with the Peters Township School District, offered 8 classes to 7th and 8th grade Peters Township students on social graces. The course was entitled How Not to Be a Square. These photos show Mrs. Ruth Wilson instructing the children during the 4-week-long, twice-a-week class. The session themes included dating, let's eat, public appearances, dancing, little things, and may I introduce. Can you imagine kids today taking this class? Here's a newspaper photo from the scrapbook of the Century Club of Peters Township students who participated in the skits that were presented in the classes and the school district employees who supported the program. Ruth Wilson is in the back row, third from right, beside E. Paul Day. The cringiest thing I found in the scrapbook was a do's and don'ts for girls from the 1958 Don't Be a Square classes. The advice is 67 years old, and it is showing its age. The advice includes, quote, "Don't be possessive. No boy likes to look as though he were all tied up in a neat little package with your name on it. Do read the newspaper headlines and listen to sports and news reports, enough to discuss with some intelligence what's going on in the world. Do be a real friend. Make a boy feel you like him, not just his convertible." But the list was not without some humor. It also said, "Do display a sincere interest and pride in his achievements. This may be an effort when his theme song is carburetors, but it is an effort that pays dividends." Interestingly, there was no do's and don'ts list for boys. During the 1960s, the Century Club also sponsored Peters Township Community Day. In June of 1965, Canonsburg's The Daily Notes newspaper advertised that Community Day in Peters Township, held on the grounds of the Peters Township High School, was going to be sponsored jointly by the Kiwanis Club, the McMurray Century Club, and the Peters Township Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have some new insight into all that women contributed to the Peters Township community through these women's clubs in which they engaged. It's really amazing what they accomplished. I hope you'll join us again on Thursday, October 9th, when we will be talking about the history of the Peters Township Fire Department.